Hello, all you unsung athletes. Welcome to the Unsung Athlete Podcast, where we give a voice to you, the unsung athlete, training every day, grinding without excuse, reward or not. I'm your host, Shannon Rose. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Unsung Athlete Podcast, where we give a voice to you, the unsung athlete. I'm your host, Shannon Rose, and I'm here with the one and only Brad Dalton, father, husband, a positive warrior coach, world changer, and of course, my dear friend and fellow unsung athlete. Since I've known Brad, I've witnessed him master the TEDx stage, launch his #1 best-selling book, DNA of a Winner, which I have read and love. I've even been a 2-time guest on his viral podcast, Best Self Podcast, which of course you should all check out. Brad, you truly walk the talk and show up for yourself and others every day, and I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so jacked to be here.
Yeah.
And I thank you for feeding all those lies and positives about me in the bio. Huge.
Just say thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, Brad, you know me. I have to start with love. So tell me, what do you love and what are you grateful for today?
Man, that's a loaded question there, girlfriend. Boy, I mean, one, I love that my toes touched the floor today and I could feel gratitude. I feel gratitude for so many reasons. Everything starts with my family. And I'm just so thankful for them. I'm thankful that I've got friends like you. I'm thankful that I'm thankful that I'm thankful for everything. I've had the opportunity to travel the world. I speak internationally, and I go to some of these places where, man, they're living with so much less. And on one hand, I just feel sorry for them, and I feel grateful for what I have. But then you look at these kids who are running around with bare feet and no shirts on, and they're smiling, giving people high fives. And so I'm grateful for my family and the people I'm surrounded with, but I'm grateful for the people like that. They can show us that you can love and make it a verb, and you don't have to love with things. And so, I mean, we could talk for 60 minutes on the things that I'm grateful
for. A whole
for,
podcast
sister.
on that.
Yeah. Totally. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, thanks for bringing us into your heart. Let's start there. But I know you've been an athlete and a coach, and you've trained many teams and athletes over time. You still coach in business and you coach teams. Yet today, in this moment, do you consider yourself an athlete, and why?
Well, I don't know if I consider myself an athlete, but I compete. I mean, I compete every day. I compete every day against the best version of myself. I compete against the best version of my yesterday self. I compete against the guy I was 15 seconds ago. I'm always trying to be the best version of me and not get caught up being comfortable. I mean, I think the best of us, we grow when we're stretched, and that's me. I mean, the growth part is the fun part. Growth per word, growth per conversation, growth per action, growth per thought. All these things get me fired up, Shannon Rose. And so, I mean, tactically, am I going to run a 4.340 today? Am I going to have a 40-inch vertical? Am I going to KO somebody in the first round? That kind of athlete? No. But I work with athletes for a living. As you mentioned, I work with businesses and education. I'm kind of a little bit all over the map. And it's the same deal. We've got to outcompete the best version of us. So we're not competing against someone else. We're competing against the previous best version of ourselves. And every day is a competition. And competition doesn't have to be nasty. Competition doesn't have to be super nerve-wracking. And if you are getting nervous, you're not alone. UFC fighters don't go into a ring not nervous. These tough guys, these badasses, these dudes, they get nervous too. Game 7 of the World Series. The pitcher on the starting on the mound is going to be nervous. We just had Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. I mean, that thing went down to the wire. I guarantee you those guys had nerves going in. Yeah. But how we use that nervousness and how we use perceived anxiety, that's going to allow us to compete at a high level. I think that anxiety is just enthusiasm without the breath.
Mm.
So if we learn how to breathe, if we learn what to focus on, if we learn about things like body language and self-talk and these kind of things, and I'm kind of probably getting ahead of myself and really disrupting your flow, Shannon Rose. I
Not
think those allow us to
possible,
be
Brad,
confident.
not possible.
But yeah,
So yes.
that's where I'm at. Yeah. Yes. Always competing, sister. Always competing.
Yeah. You're an everyday athlete. You are an unsung athlete, and you're finding ways to use that athletic mentality in everyday actions, in your behaviors all the time. And that 100% you embody the unsung athlete. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me your origin story. When did you first consider yourself an athlete?
Oh man, I think probably coming out of the womb, sister. I mean, originally, when I was really young, I was surrounded by athletes and my family loved sports and whatnot. So, I mean, my idea of an athlete at first was just, I like this sport. I like playing this kind of stuff. But, as I grew up, I was fortunate. I was on a lot of competitive, really good teams. I didn't lose a lot. And that's both good and bad. Because if you never lose, you really don't learn some of the better lessons you could be learning as an athlete in life. They happen when you lose, perceived loss. And so from the very beginning, though, I mean, and now as an adult, I can look back at all the lessons that I learned competing when I was younger and how much they've helped me as I've moved along. And I've helped my own kids, I helped my own clients. A lot of the stuff that I teach today, I started learning when I was a 7-year-old kid. And so I've been an athlete for as long as I can remember. I've been competing as long as I can remember. Sometimes, I don't know what your upbringing was like totally in terms of reaching back that far, but sometimes when we're younger, we don't realize just how much we're learning and how much this is going to pay off for us. And even as we move along, the only thing that's really different about me now, perhaps, is just my awareness.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I was unaware that I was unaware. And as I've got into this business and life and parenting and all that stuff, I've just started becoming more aware and more aware of what to look for and more aware of what the success road looks like. And now I can really take those things and make my next 15 seconds better, makes my next 24 hours better, my next quarter better. So yeah.
I love that. Quick story on my end, because it made me think of something, is my youngest, she's 10. She asked us to do travel soccer. So she was in rec soccer. She said, I need more. This is not enough for me. I want to learn more. I'm like, when your kid says that, you step up to the plate and you do more.
You make it happen.
So she was in a game and she made a goal, but she was slightly offsides. A controversial call. Everybody was up in arms about it. But what happened was that was her first goal she'd ever made in a game. And it was taken away from her. What it did was it lit a fire under her and the team. They came back and answered back with 3 more goals. She assisted 2 of them. And since that game, she has been a totally different player. Because, like you say, of a failure. Isn't that cool?
I love that.
I know that will be something in her. She's always going to be like, I know I can do it. I'm going to chase it. Let's go. But it could have gone either way. So
I love that so much.
I love how you touched on that, because that made me think of this just real small example as a child, as a 10-year-old, and now how that will be a core memory as she looks at failure in the future.
I love that so much.
Me too.
Because like how we compete's a choice, right?
Absolutely.
And attitude's a choice and effort's a choice and all these things are a choice. I also got to tell you, Shannon Rose, I mean, I don't live inside your walls, but that kind of mentality just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think it's so important that parents and coaches and teachers and leaders and whoever in a position of influence, which is really all of us, that how we frame winning and losing, because winning isn't what you think.
No.
You know, I mean, how we frame it, how we frame the process, and how we let them know that confidence isn't something like, you don't get confidence from results.
No.
You get confidence from acting, and you
Yeah.
get confidence from having the right framing of the process. And man, I get so excited
I
thinking
do
about
too.
that story is good.
It's so good. Reuse it. It's
Yeah.
like one of those stories you just got to keep telling because it's so real. And then you can apply it to something at this level in this age.
Oh yeah. Love it. Love it.
Okay. So you know, it's interesting how sports evolve or your athletic mentality evolves over time. And knowing where you came from as an athlete, how do you keep yourself going as an athlete today,
Yeah.
knowing
Right.
there's no real award or recognition waiting for you? You're not going to be given the Olympic Medal of Honor
Right.
or anything like that by showing up every day.
Yeah.
Yet you still do. So
Yeah.
what drives you to be that everyday unsung athlete?
Well, one, I recognize that success isn't based off achievement.
Yeah.
Success is based off
You're
effort.
unique though.
Yeah, that's
But for
true.
those who have not adopted that mentality, how do you get that mentality and keep going?
Yeah. Well, one, I think it's important you surround yourself with signs of success.
Mm,
So surround yourself with people who do have that mentality. I mean, I have that mentality, but I didn't always have that mentality. I was a low self-esteem guy at one point. I didn't like speaking in front of people, and now I speak internationally. I never dreamed of writing a book when I was super young. Like, all these things that have happened that are good for me, I didn't start there. Like, I wasn't confident. And it's because I tied winning to destinations. I tied winning to achievement. And you you got to surround yourself with signs of success. So what I mean by that is, listen to podcasts like this. What are you listening to for your music? What are you wearing? What are you surrounding yourself? Like, what does your room look like? What is your, yeah, it's
lift
exactly.
more, hate less.
Love it. Amen. Amen. You know, who are you listening to, and what are you reading? And just, how are you surrounding yourself with signs of success? Because you're like passively taking on these mentalities and you don't even know it. And we really do become what we think about, and we do assimilate to the people we associate, and all these kind of things. So I would also, I mean, I would invest in myself. Invest. And it kind of goes with the signs of success, but invest in myself. How am I today trying to get just a little bit better than I was yesterday? And we all hear about this 1% more, be 1% better every day. You can be 36, 37% better. That is an awesome concept. I don't think it's totally realistic. It's really sexy, but I break it down more like 1% of the day. So if I'm trying to be 1% more kind today, Shannon Rose, 1% of today is just 14 minutes and 27 seconds.
Yeah.
Can we not find 14 minutes and 27
Right.
seconds today? Out of 24 hours, 14 minutes and 27 seconds. Can we not find 14 minutes and 27 seconds to be a little more kind? I
Yeah.
want to be a better big brother. I want to be a better teammate. I want to be a better in this aspect of my coaching, where I'm trying to have an impact and create something in this person's life. I'm trying to be a better athlete. I think we can do that. So those are just a couple ideas. You look, like I said, you look at me and you think like, well, yeah, you do that. But the thing is, I've had to work at it. Being a champion takes work. And you have to act like a champion before you become a champion. It's not the other way around. You know, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Conor McGregor. I mean, I'm sure Kobe Bryant. I'm sure like Wayne Gretzky. You can pick a sport, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
They all believed that they were champions before they became champions.
Absolutely.
And that's just kind of the attitude I took on.
And And even when other people were telling them that they weren't,
Yep.
over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
they were acting as a champion again, even when they maybe weren't getting the recognition, weren't winning awards. They just kept showing up as a champion each and
Yep.
absolutely, which ties back to your book, which I love.
That was my grand scheme. That's where I was going with that
Ooh,
one.
there and a
I'm glad we're bringing
callback.
this thing back to me.
It is all about you today, Brad. But as you think about what drives you to keep going now, we all have a comeback or underdog story that helped us get here.
Mhm.
Something that, where you may have been, it may have been out of your control, or it went against what you had set out to do as
Mhm.
an athlete. So tell me your comeback story where you took, unexpected time off from being an athlete, or maybe you were forced to, or
Yeah.
maybe there was a time when it was just difficult to remain or be an athlete. Tell
Yeah.
me about your comeback story.
Right. Well, I've got multiple. I
Pick
think,
one.
yeah. That, I mean, which one am I going with here?
Any
Uh,
meanie.
I'll tell you, I'll share a story about my son.
Mm,
So, I mean, I've got multiple, like, in terms of me competing on the diamond or on the gridiron or whatever, hardwood or pick a sport. Uh, but I'll tell you the biggest blind side, I call it the 15-second or 15-minute sucker punch to the gut for me in my life was when my youngest was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum. And my wife and I were both college athletes. My wife was the Gatorade Player of the Year in high school for basketball. She's this 6'1" rock star basketball player, D1 athlete. I played college baseball. I was probably a better football player than I was a baseball player, but I like baseball. And you dream. And our oldest was pretty athletic. And you have these dreams of kind of like following them, doing some of the same things you did and some of the same passions that you have. And my wife and I are both career educators. And anyway, we started noticing things. He was delayed in some things. I just thought, I won't go into the whole giant story, but I thought he was just delayed. My
yeah.
wife thought he might have thought he was on the spectrum. And really, we kind of went back and forth on getting him checked out. And finally, I just did it just to kind of make my wife happy because I didn't think he was. She thought he might. Anyway, we go in there. They do this massive breakdown. I mean, like 25 pages of questions we had to answer and all this stuff. They knew him inside and out. And we get in there to the doctor and we're 5 minutes into the conversation and she's talking. I just stopped her, said, "Hey, I just got to know, is he on the spectrum?" And man, it's like I barely finished my sentence. And she said, "Oh, yeah." It was like a no-brainer. And then she shows us the rubric, and yeah, it's a no-brainer. And man, I felt like I'd just been totally slugged in the gut. I felt sick to my stomach. The walk back to my car, my wife and I had driven two different cars to the place. The walk back to my car was the longest walk ever. And then, I mean, it's like a 35-mile-per-hour speed zone back to my house, but I was probably going 25.
Yeah.
It just took forever. The world's just like, I mean, even talking about, I've told this story a million times, even talking about it right now, it's just like, I was just so lost for about 15 minutes. And then I got in my car. I got into my driveway and I sat there for a while. And I finally said to myself, this is ridiculous. Feeling sorry for myself and feeling sorry for him isn't going to make him any better. And it's not going to make this go away. What have I got to do? He was 3 years old at the time. What have I got to do in the next 15 years to give him the best life possible?
Yeah.
What have I got to do? And so from then moving forward, despite that setback early, and there's been many tough times along the
Waves.
way, crushing it now. He's come so far. I mean, he went from a head banging, he would get overwhelmed when he was 3 and literally start banging his head on concrete. And I'm sure people in the grocery market are thinking we're awful parents and what is going on here, these kind of things. There's so many other crummy type stories like that. He just graduated last month. He's got his first job. He's going to college. He's still got junk in the trunk. But what you learn is we all got junk in the trunk. Two, that's where I really learned how to focus on growth. Growth per conversation, growth per word, growth. What am I doing? The words coming out of my mouth, they really do have power. The feelings that I'm exuding right now, they really have power. I mean, people feed off it. So if I come out angry, he's going to be angry. If I come up chill, things are going sideways. Like things are going like just not good. Well, if I react in a way where it looks like I'm going sideways, it's just going to escalate.
Yeah.
And so in terms of setbacks as an athlete, as a human being, as a person, that was a tough one. But he's been my best learning experience. He's the best thing that's ever happened to us. And it just spills over into the rest of our life. Sorry, that was kind of a long story.
Oh, I asked for it. I asked for a comeback story and you gave it in spades. And again, to a point on how you continue to look at the world with continuous improvement and being better. Like in that moment, it's not about you. It was all about your legacy in him and how does he have the best life, which now you've instilled an athletic mentality that he can carry forward in whatever he does.
Yep.
You know, he's winning at life.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Amen. There's so many life lessons every day we could all pick up if we would just pay attention.
Just pay attention.
I mean,
and let them sink in so they just become part of you instead of just I recognize and go. Just let that settle for a little bit because that one's a good one.
Well, and we all have standards. The thing is, I talk about all these things with him and being flexible and being cool with non-typical and recognize the difference between anxiousness and meanness and talk about all these things. But and I forget where I'm going with this.
Which is okay.
I had a point to this. It was really good, I promise. I'll think of it 10 minutes after off air.
Yeah, bring it back. Just like you did the book. Just bring it back, you know.
There you go.
So I know my own journey. There's always that maybe one person who sparked the athlete, right, in you. And for me, it was Mr. Avalone, my 5th grade basketball coach. I kept saying sorry to everyone. I kept knocking people over and feeling bad about my power. And he basically said, knock it off or I'm going to bench you. And he said, never apologize for your strength and your power. So for me, that like something clicked, just like with my daughter and missing that goal, something just clicked in me. And that was the moment I really consider that I became an athlete. Who is that one person in your life who you'd like to thank? And how did they help you and inspire you to become an unsung athlete?
Yeah. Well, I had a lot of people that loved me growing up, but I was a perfectionist and I didn't necessarily play relaxed. And the relaxed, confident guy wins in life. And it wasn't until I got to college baseball, I had a coach named Rick Bauman. And there's a long story how I ended up on that roster. And I don't have to go into that story, but I was an underdog. I wasn't supposed to be in the starting lineup. I wasn't supposed to be the guy. And by the end of the year, I was in the starting lineup. And I had beat out some really good guys and really good players because he recognized the process. He recognized the value of work ethic, being a team player, of playing fearless, of being aggressive, selectively aggressive, of all these qualities that do have a lot to do with winning, but they don't show up on a stat sheet all the time. And he just believed in me. He believed in me. He believed in me when maybe a lot of others didn't. He believed in me. He just gave me we don't need other people's permission to be confident, but I really did feel more confident because of his belief in me. And he showed me that I have it in the tank, that I have the juice, that I don't need someone else's permission. He gave that. I mean, I hate that I needed someone else's permission to feel that way, but that's the truth. At that time in my life, it took someone else that really believed in me when I was the underdog. And he gave me that chance. And it really, frankly, I might not be here with you today had he not done that, because who knows how long it would have taken for me to get confident and all that jazz had it not been for Coach Bauman.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach Bauman.
He's the man.
For Brad.
He's the man.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot, but I'd like to get now into a little bit of the future, which is, what do you want your legacy story to be when people think of Brad Dalton, the unsung athlete? What do you want them to think, say, and feel?
I want them to say that guy was a servant leader. I want them to say that guy really cared about his people. I want them to say that, man, relationships really were king for Brad. Brad really cared about his people, and he served. That's what I want. That would be my hope, that my legacy would be, that guy really cared.
I would 100% say all those things about you right now. So you're
Thank
living.
you.
Yeah. All
I appreciate
right.
that.
Now for our final question. You've got 30
Bring it.
seconds. All right.
Bring it, girlfriend.
What is one thing you want to say to inspire the world today?
Your best is good enough. Your best is not just good enough. Your best is more than good enough. You don't need to be more than who you are. Just show up as all that you are. And if that's a 7, you woke up today, you weren't feeling like a 10, you felt like a 7, 100% of your 7, that is good enough. And so I would my toes touch the floor today. Just know that, like, you weren't meant to star in someone else's movie. You're a fantastic beast. I haven't met you, but you're incredible, and you have the juice. You don't need to go searching for it. You've got it in the tank. And if you're looking to add fuel to your tank, go out and serve. Go out and show up as the best version of you. And I promise you, that's not going to get you all the time. It's not going to guarantee you success, but it gives you your best shot at success and feeling confident while you're successful.
Yeah. Good 30 seconds.
Did I go over? Dang it.
Yeah. No, Brad, thank you for being here and showing us all the true heart of an unsung athlete. You've been amazing.
I appreciate you, friend.
Thank you for joining us on the Unsung Athlete podcast, where we give a voice to you, the unsung athlete. I'm your host, Shannon Rose. Keep grinding without excuse.